Crap with Beth and Matt. Cut to Crap is the world's #1 no bullshit health and fitness podcast. Alrighty then. Hey there, and thanks for stopping by once again. Welcome to episode 11. In this episode, Beth and I discuss eating around the holidays. We offer up some tips on staying on track while enjoying yourself, setting boundaries with friends and family, avoiding diet and body talk, and more. Let's get to it. All right, Beth.
All right, Matt. What's happening?
How was your weekend?
How was my weekend? Fucking weird. That's how it was.
Yeah, I can only imagine. You doing okay?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. I was really sad on Saturday and I couldn't sleep, but I'm okay. I think I'm just more worried about my mom right now at this point.
That's understandable. Yeah.
You know, she's like living in the middle of nowhere by herself now.
Right.
And it just worries me. I mean, she's like 75 years old. And you know, what if something happens? There's no one there. It's like a new stress that I need to think about. It's your parents getting
on top
older.
Of everything that you already have.
You know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I'm here for you.
Thanks.
Of course. My weekend went well. Let's see. What did I do? I had my son Saturday. It wasn't my weekend, but he came over because we did Thanksgiving at my parents' house.
Nice.
Saturday, kind of a little bit earlier than we're used to, but everybody has their own families and stuff. So we did it a little early. Plus I'm leaving, shortly after Thanksgiving for a little weekend trip. So we made it work. And I think that's kind of what brings us into our the topic for today, which is eating around the holidays and eating during the holidays. Not specifically Thanksgiving, but of course Thanksgiving is included in that because we do have friends overseas, of course. So let's talk about eating around the holidays, how to manage eating around the holidays, especially when it comes to like diet talk and setting boundaries and people talking about your fucking body like it's any of their business, things like that.
Right.
So what do we have in mind? So let's talk about it. Let's get into the details.
Yeah, let's get into possibly not taking the holidays are the holidays, right? Thanksgiving is one day. Christmas is one day, New Year's is one day, but I think people tend to take the Thanksgiving and go batshit until New Year's, almost like letting it be the excuse. Oh, I'm going to start.
I'll start New Year's. I'll be That's not good, right? That's a recipe for disaster.
No. Yeah, exactly.
And because there's no even if you're not started yet, you could start now and you could start doing amazing things, right? You could start getting stronger. You could start working on your mobility. You could start improving your health. Just because it's that time of year where there's candy around and chocolates and gravy and stuffing and cranberry sauce doesn't mean we can't still take care of ourselves in the meantime.
Right. I think it has to do with the all or nothing mentality.
It does, which we are here to fucking let's throw that out the window. That's what's holding a lot of people back too, is the all or nothing mindset when it comes to health and fitness and nutrition. But it's not black and white. There's grays, there's reds, there's purples, there's everything. So what the fuck?
What the fuck?
I think the one thing I always that I'm telling people right away, we are not worried about weight loss on Thanksgiving. We are not worried about weight loss on Christmas. That's the biggest thing. What are the holidays for? Especially now in our current environment, right? A lot of people didn't even get to celebrate these holidays last year because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So why are we going to go and take something that we missed out on last year with spending time with friends and family and put added stress onto it about worrying about our fucking calories, right? So let's stop that right there.
Yeah.
Like I said the other day in our TikTok live, I will personally buy a plane ticket, find out where you live, and come kick you in the ass if I find out you're counting calories on Thanksgiving.
Oh my God, seriously, yeah. Don't even weigh yourself the next day. Seriously, don't weigh yourself. I told all my clients, I sent them an email. I'm like, listen, do not count calories on Thanksgiving and do not weigh yourself the next day. It's going to be up.
It's going to be up. We can guarantee that. And why is that?
Salt, more food content, water, carbs, you name it. Yeah. So
I I did not personally take that advice, but I know what I'm doing. Right? I do these things so I can
Right.
relate these things to other people. So
Yeah.
I was up 7 pounds from Saturday to Sunday. You know, guess what? Today is Monday. I'm back down to where I was before. But that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that people should go weigh themselves. They shouldn't. But we know we're
Right.
going to be holding on to water weight. We know we're going to be bloated. We know we're going to probably be having some poops going on. So
Yeah.
like let's
And that
so
could
let's.
be their one reason to be like, say, fuck it, right? Because they're like, oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God,
that could
the
completely
scale
disrupt.
went up. I just ruined everything
Yep.
on Thanksgiving, so I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Bring the
Yeah.
Christmas cookies.
For sure. And so you mentioned how, Thanksgiving is one day, Christmas is one day, New Year's is
Hmm.
one day. But let's look at it this way. The way I was running some numbers before this podcast, let's give those days 5 days. So let's give 2 days for Thanksgiving, 2 days for
Hmm.
Christmas, and one day for New Year's. When this podcast comes out, we're going to release this podcast on Wednesday. There will be 37 days left in the year. Okay.
Yeah.
5 days out of those 37 days, that's if you do what you're supposed to do those other 32 days of those 37 days, that's 86% consistency,
Hmm.
which, as we know and as we talk about all the time, 80% consistency is what we should be striving
Right.
for.
Right.
So,
So you still have a little
and
leeway even there.
you do. You could, yeah, you absolutely have a little leeway. So you haven't ruined anything by
Right.
enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
Remember, we're here to have a healthy relationship with food and exercise. So let's talk about some things we're not going to do then in terms of exercise and things like that. So what are we
Right.
going to do and what are we not going to do? So I'll start with what are we going to do? We will just get back to our normal routine, whatever
Mhm.
that may look like for you. For me, my daily routine, my morning routine is I wake up, I get some coffee, I go on my walk with my dog, and then I usually try to get a workout in or I'll do some work, things like that. So since it was Sunday, I wasn't working. So I woke up, I had some coffee, went on my walk, made a nice little breakfast, just like I normally would. I
Yeah.
didn't cut out any foods. I didn't skip out on carbs or anything. I had a bagel with 2 eggs. I had excited cottage cheese. I had some mushrooms and spinach. I had a nice, nutritious breakfast full of protein, fiber, and just like I normally would. So I got back on track, right?
Yep.
Now, so then what are some things that I didn't do? What are some things that we should not do then after a holiday or even after just going like off the deep end a little bit?
Starve yourself the next day,
Right?
right? Wake up and have your normal breakfast, like Matt just said he did.
Mm-hmm.
And that you're not going to try to like exercise or over exercise because you think that you need to, burn off the meal or your day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. We're not gonna. First of all, that's not possible. You're going to be bringing in thousands of calories of extra food on Thanksgiving.
Right.
It is literally impossible for you to burn that off via exercise. Exercise is a very shit way of burning calories, and we don't do. That's not why we exercise, right? So yeah, me for instance. So I had deadlifts was my next workout in the routine, and I felt amazing for that. Like I didn't go into that workout like, oh my god, I got to work off all this food, but I
Right.
did have a lot more carbs, so I had a lot more energies, a bigger energy storage reserves, right? Which definitely
Mm-hmm.
benefited me in my workout. I was stronger. I had more energy. My muscles were fuller because there's a lot of more water retention. Use that to your
Yep.
advantage if you want. Um,
Yeah.
but also, then, like, what about leading up to Thanksgiving? What are some things that we should not be doing because people might be tempted to severely cut calories or skip
Right.
meals or do extra cardio to earn those calories? We're
Mm-hmm.
not going to do that, right?
Yeah. Just like be like stick to your regularly scheduled program, you know? Have your good habits lead up to that day, and then you continue on with your good habits after that day.
Because it's a lifestyle. It's a
Yeah,
lifestyle.
that's
It's not
that's the thing. You're building a lifestyle that you can stick to, and it's not what we do from November to January. It's what we do from January to November that really makes the biggest difference.
exactly. It's all encompassing. That's that lifestyle change that we're after.
Mm-hmm.
Beautifully said. Um, So then, what some other things that people struggle with on the holidays are a lot of family interactions, right?
I
So
think a lot of like food pushers. There's
yes,
body shamers, food pushers,
hmm
toxic. I made the video of like, and I've heard it like, do you really think you should be eating that? Like, or do you look at she's put on some weight? it's like there's always something. It's always like the aunt or the older, generation that,
Right.
and
Right.
what they don't really realize is they can literally trigger someone for their entire fucking life. Like whatever they say, that person may remember that for years to come.
Yeah,
I think
that's very
people don't
true.
realize like what they say has a profound effect on the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then that goes into, um, first of all, accepting the fact that that might happen, right? So we need to accept.
Right.
We need to accept that we can't control others. We can control our reactions to others, and we can try to, like, if we have a family member that we know is notorious for this, notorious for diet talk or talking about our body, we can start setting those
Right.
expectations up ahead of time. Um, we can gradually in conversations, text message conversation, things like that, um, let them know, that you're working on your mindset and your mental health and everything, and those type of comments do more harm than good.
Yeah.
Or if they insist, like when they bring it up, um, if grandma gets offended because you don't want, like, maybe you've had enough, maybe you've eaten enough and you're just physically uncomfortable if you were to eat more, but
Right.
grandmas, they can be like, oh, they get offended if you don't eat more, like, grandma, thank you, like, I truly appreciate it, but I would not feel well physically if I ate more food, so I can't.
Yeah.
But what I would love to do is, can you pack me up some to go in a box, right? Like, I would love to take some
Right.
home. And it's win-win because Thanksgiving leftovers are fucking better than the
Oh
original.
my God, they're my favorite. Yeah.
So I had a cold turkey sandwich yesterday and it was amazing.
Yum.
Yeah,
Yum. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
absolutely. And then of course we have, diet talk. So people are
Oh,
always going to
right.
be talking about our diets.
Hmm.
Keto, especially, like, will probably be a big one, or carnivore or something. And Aunt Karen might be talking about how great keto is and how it's making her feel good. But you know what? This is the time of the year we don't
Yeah.
talk about religion, we don't talk about politics, and we don't
Right.
talk about diets at the dinner
Yeah.
table.
Jesus Christ.
So those are the three rules, right? So we can lay that up front with our. It's about setting boundaries with our
Yes.
family members,
Boundaries.
and friends. So, like, do you really
Hmm.
think? I don't think this is the best time to talk about that. Or it could go like, just acknowledge what they've said. Like,
Yeah.
Aunt Karen, I'm so glad that keto is working for you and you found a community that accepts you and that you're able to be successful with. But I don't think right now, like, let's talk about, your job, or let's talk about cousin
Right.
Billy or something. So accept, but then change the subject as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Really,
Exactly.
because if you don't accept, it's it, I would personally want to fight back against the keto thing, right? But, like, that's not the
Yeah.
time or the place. So understanding
Sometimes you
that's
just
not
have
the
to let
time
it
or the
go.
place.
Be like, you know what? Okay, that's great. I'm glad to hear you're happy. That's amazing. So anyway,
Put your ego
onward.
aside. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Onward and upward. Onward
Because
and upward.
Aunt
For
Karen's
sure.
going to want to go into a fucking keto portal hole. That's just what happens. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
It's
find that
inevitable.
when people like get obsessed with like a diet, they just don't want to stop talking about it.
That's their
So you
personality
kind
at
of
that
have to
point.
hit it before it gets to the point of no
Nip it
return.
in the bud. Yeah, for
Right.
sure. For
Right.
sure. Yeah. So then we deal with things like the body, body comments. So how would you handle
Oh yeah.
family members that insist on talking about our body? Maybe it's that we lost weight, or maybe that's we've gained weight. Um, not everybody wants those comments. Some people do like those comments, but not most people don't, especially the negative comments. So how would you
Right.
suggest we handle that?
That's a good question. What would you say? What would I say to someone if said, you know what, you put on some weight?
Yeah.
What do you say to
Well,
that? At first, like, you kind of go into like a little bit of a shock because it's like if
right. Like,
everyone knows if they put on their weight, they know they have. It's like, why do you
yeah,
have to
exactly.
fucking say something about it, right? I
Hmm.
think just saying, I really um, don't think I really want to talk about that right now. It's something
Yeah,
just, or you could
that's
say
perfectly.
I'm working on myself, or you know, that's a tough one
Yeah,
because coming from me, I'd be,
yeah. How would you handle it? 'Cause let's start there.
I would be like, you know what? I would just probably say, just stop talking about
Mind your
that right
fucking
now.
business.
I
Right.
already fucking know. Like, thank you. let's just talk about something else. All right. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Depending on who it
There's
was, I
lots of
think
ways you can handle it. Yeah.
yeah.
There's lots of ways you can handle
Yeah.
it. Um,
Um,
some people, now this isn't I would not recommend doing this, but some people want to give, like, they want to give it back, right? So also, like,
right.
maybe, like, I've noticed you gain some weight too. That's not the right way to do it, because that just makes it a toxic environment,
Yeah.
and it escalates things. But what I would recommend is saying something like, um, what I do with my body is up to me. Like, this is my body. I don't judge you for what you do with your body.
Right.
But also, like, how would you feel if I made those comments towards you, right? Like, and honestly,
Yeah.
it's going back to fucking elementary school. Like, if you don't
Right.
want to, if you want to hear it yourself, then don't say it. It goes back to that. So finding that way of
It,
putting it that way is key.
yeah. And then almost realizing that there's more something about them that's going on with them than about you. Like
Right. It's not
why
you.
would someone need to body shame someone to that extent? That means they're unhappy with themselves. So they have to make someone else feel worse than they are.
Yep. When they're saying these things and putting you down, whether intentionally or not, they're projecting in a way. So they're not happy with where they're at with it. Maybe it's with their body, or maybe they're stressed, maybe they're having a bad day, or
Right.
whatever. But it's not a reflection of you when they say these things. So let's start there. That's a great way of putting it. It's not that
Yeah.
you haven't done anything wrong. It's not you, it's them. So we reframe that train of thought then right away then too.
Exactly.
Lovely.
Exactly.
Lovely. What about the family members that just don't listen to our boundaries, that insist on continuing to do these things, even after we've told them and made it perfectly clear to them that your comments and your actions are unwanted?
That's a good question. I think then at that point it takes some serious action. Like
Yeah,
you never know. You might have to leave the party.
you
Um,
might have to. Yeah.
if it comes down to that.
You can't. This is not the time. Like, boundaries are hard, because
Right.
enforcing boundaries is incredibly fucking difficult, because that makes you
Hmm.
feel bad. But like, if somebody pushes, here's what I say: if somebody pushes back against your boundaries, they do not respect you, flat out. I don't
Right.
care if this is your own mother and father. They do not
Right.
respect you if they are pushing back on your boundaries, because they
Yeah.
can no longer take advantage of you when you set boundaries with them. So now they're having that clapback.
Yeah.
We see that all a lot in narcissists and things like that. It's not a healthy relationship. A lot of
No.
that this time of year, it might not be the thing you want to hear, but it's the thing you need to hear. That if you have set your boundary and you've made it perfectly clear what your boundaries are, and people insist on pushing the boundary, they don't care about you. They do not respect
Yeah.
you. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And that can go a long way then in helping you repair that relationship too, because then it
Hmm.
becomes, do they realize they're pushing back on the boundaries, or do they just
Right.
not care that they're pushing back on the boundaries? So then that kind of gives you that awareness too.
Yeah.
In my opinion, have you ever
Yeah.
dealt with anything like that?
No, not to that extent. Mm-mm.
No. Do you
No.
have
Thank
clients
God.
that struggle with setting boundaries?
I think it's just they don't know how to start the conversation really.
Okay.
You know, that's what I get. And a lot of them, I think some people just I guess I'm backtracking here. I'm thinking about something
That's
else, but
fine.
like communication is key. I think people have a hard time communicating. Like try not to be silent and let them get away with it, because then they'll keep doing it. I think that's another thing. I think people just don't like to have those tough conversations, and they just
Hmm.
let people get away with that shit. But for me, like I think it's important to like you said, set boundaries and stick to them. And that goes like when you're like, let's say, have in a weight loss journey, right? And you want support at home. You have to
Hmm.
have, without the communication with your spouse or whoever's living in the house, you all have to be on the same page. To tell them. So I guess that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Yeah, you said that beautifully. So, like, how do you prepare them for that conversation then? I mean, because that's not an easy conversation to have, right?
Yeah, just like, okay, this is important to me, and I really want you to know what I'm going through right now. Like, I understand. Can you please not talk about this, or can you please not
This,
um, bring this home or force me to do that? I'm asking you to do this for me right now. You really just need to say,
yeah,
this is important to me.
that's that's really, you shouldn't have to explain yourself any more than that,
Right.
right there.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, if they continue to not listen to you and push that boundary, you're faced with an action, or faced
Mm-hmm.
with a decision. Do you sit there and take it, or do you stop it from happening? Which then means you could potentially be leaving.
Right.
I tell you what, everybody will remember the time that you left Thanksgiving because Aunt Karen was being an asshole to you, and wasn't,
Yeah.
So then then it becomes, well, is Aunt Karen welcome here at Thanksgiving anymore, or is so
Right.
and so like the problem? And that's not necessarily the way we want to look at it, but um,
Right.
maybe you're saying the things that other family members have been wanting to say too, and
Right.
you kind of started the pendulums, swinging, if you will.
Yep.
So that's another way of looking at it too.
Yeah.
Um, okay. I also think that it's important to talk about like emotional hunger too. Where
Mm.
like there's many types of hunger, right? Remember that emotional hunger. It is a thing. It's perfectly valid.
Yep.
You aren't a bad person for having emotional hunger. It's okay to feel that feeling. What we want to do is, so this goes to the lines of the way we're eating them because of emotional hunger. So we want to tap into how we're feeling, either emotionally or in our body physically.
Yeah.
We want to be able to identify what hunger and fullness and satisfaction actually feel like. That makes it that takes the stress out of eating if you start to trust your body and acknowledge that. Um,
Yeah. The holidays
only
can be really emotional for a lot of people.
Right. Exactly. So then, only you, Beth, or me, gets to decide what satisfaction feels like. So that goes back to like me getting, if I were getting a second plate because I'm still hungry, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not satisfied yet. So that's not somebody else's, it's not up to them to decide what enough is, essentially. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so going back to like the diet talk too, then I think what the takeaway there should be: avoidance is the safest bet, but it's not always possible. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can't avoid it, we want to acknowledge, we want to change the subject. And what if they persist? Slap them. No, we don't need family.
Yeah. Tell them
We
tell them
don't
to
need a
get
family brawl.
fucked.
Yeah,
Uh,
tell them we love them and we would love to discuss it with them at a better time.
yeah.
Now is not the time or the place, essentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't
Yes,
like you
yes,
don't
yes.
need to go in like super like a detail. I think people just need short answers and be done with it. The more
Yeah,
you start to
for sure.
like explain your why, the more it starts to get involved. So it's like simple no thank you, I'm good, and be done.
And you don't need to explain. No is no. Like you do not need to explain your answers.
Yeah.
If I ask a girl out and she says no, it's that. Like if she gives me no explanation, I don't. That's not. She doesn't need to tell me why. She just said
Right.
no, and I need to respect that. It goes. It
Yeah.
goes. It's the same thing for every other fucking situation in life. No,
Exactly.
you don't. No, no, you don't owe an explanation to anybody.
To nobody.
To nobody. To
No
nobody.
motherfucking buddy.
um, and what you said
Ah,
earlier too. Are you out of coffee?
I'm out. No, I'm just
What a sad day.
I know.
Oh, I got my water
Um,
still ready to go. I'm only doing my 2 cups of coffee a day still, so that's actually working quite well for me. I'm loving it.
nice. Nice.
Um, but going back to what you said about it's the things that you do from January to November, right?
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
So some things that we can do year round. I was kind of thinking about this. Um, we want to be more mindful of the food messages we are surrounded by every day. So um, we could take a look at like our social media feed, for instance. If we're following influencers or coaches that give a negative um, message about food, foods are good or bad or unhealthy or healthy or eat this, not that, that type of thing. Those are food messages, and you might not realize it, but that's where you're developing your relationship with food from.
Yeah.
Um, So what we want to start by doing a social media detox. So unfollowing anybody, any coach, any person that gives off those food messages that we don't agree with or that are counterproductive to what we're trying to accomplish in building
Right.
our healthy relationship with food.
Right. Yeah.
Social media is awful for that, as we know.
There's a lot of red
But
flags that you need to look for.
what would be some other red flags that we should be looking
And
out
people
for
start
then?
talking about detoxes after the holidays. Anytime you're doing like
Oh,
detox, you ever seen those? All right, have
yeah.
your holiday detox. It's like, okay,
Shed that holiday weight with this detox.
yeah,
Yeah, what a crock of
red
shit.
flag, red flag.
Red flag.
Um,
Huge red flag.
oh my God,
Guess
huge.
guess what? They're gonna have a nice little supplement or 4 week crash diet program to sell you, right?
Right, right.
Can almost guarantee it. We can almost
Yeah,
guarantee it.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. What are some other
Um,
red flags?
so I was thinking about, so I made the comment about the food swap thing really quickly. And I want to say food swaps aren't inherently bad, right? With most things aren't inherently bad. Food swaps, if done for the right reasons, can be good, you know? Um, so swap this for that. Are we doing it because we're afraid of these foods, or are we doing it because we truly think that that swap makes the most sense for us and our goals? Like for me personally, one of my favorite food swaps is I'll swap uh, Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, for sour cream. Right? For me, that makes sense because I personally don't notice any difference in taste. And then I'm getting, instead of
More
the fats
protein.
content, I'm getting the protein. So that's going to
Yep.
help me accomplish my protein goals. And it gives me no guilt whatsoever because I'm not even noticing the difference anyway. So if you're doing the food swaps for the right reason, that's what's important.
Yeah,
We're
I
not
just actually
swapping.
made what's that?
So we're not swapping fucking cauliflower
Cauliflower
rice
mashed potatoes for
for
regular
white.
mashed potatoes.
Exactly, because carbs are bad. That's an example of a
Right,
bad food
right.
swap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
actually did
those
a
are things
food
we can
swap
focus on year round.
yesterday.
Did you?
I made some banana bread, right? So what I did was I swapped out the coconut oil for applesauce, um,
Oh,
and made it with Kodiak cake pancake mix. So it was like 3 bananas,
nice.
Kodiak cake pancake mix, applesauce, vanilla, 2 eggs, and almond milk. And literally, like each slice, it tasted exactly just like regular banana bread, but literally like
Yeah.
110 calories a slice. And for me, it's like I love the taste of banana bread, but sometimes it's really calorically dense and I want more of it. So it's not like it
And
tasted
that
like
there's nothing wrong with
freaking
that. That's a good swap.
asshole.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So yeah.
Nobody likes the taste of asshole. I mean, there's probably some people
No.
out there that do. Let's be real here, but that's
I mean,
that,
I've
like I
made
said
some
earlier, that's
banana
not the
bread that
time and
was
the place.
I've made some fucking paleo banana bread before that was like almond flour and
Oh
just
yeah.
it was like a box of rocks.
Yeah.
So that's not really substituting for me. That's more like I
No.
thought that whatever other ingredient was bad, so I had to make it this
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Um,
So the reason behind the food swap is what can make the food swap good or bad.
yeah, and that's why the cooking classes that I do, we teach because it's
Hmm.
out of the gym that I used to coach at. And we take like home style meals and make them lower in calorie with like food swapping. So you can eat,
Yeah.
this is about including foods you love while you're still losing weight, just a little bit lower in calorie, not as
Hmm.
like, you know, calorically
Because
dense.
those ingredients are bad or whatever. Yeah, for sure, for
Right.
sure.
Yep.
And speaking of good ingredients, bad ingredients, so that some other things we can do around the year or year round is to focus on that talk that we have with food, right? So good food, bad food. We need to eliminate that, right? Like we need to work on eliminating that terminology. There are no good foods or bad foods. There's more calorically dense foods and less calorically dense foods. There's more nutritious foods, less nutritious foods, but they all foods have their place, right? It depends on what your
Yeah.
goals are, what moderation looks like for you. Moderation for me is different than what moderation looks like for you.
Yeah.
Um, for me,
And
it might be
also,
having 3 slices of pizza, where for you it might be having two. What was that,
right.
Beth?
And also calling yourself good or bad. Like, I was so good
Ooh,
yesterday. Oh, I was so bad yesterday. I need to be better or good today. It's like we have to stop calling ourselves like this. We're either good or bad as well. I hear that a lot. I wasn't good. I'll be better tomorrow. It's like, okay, what exactly does that mean? You weren't good. Like, are you going to get in trouble for something? Um, you,
Yeah, so
you
so
know?
like we could reframe that too. So instead of saying like, "Oh my gosh, I was so bad today," really, what you could say instead is like, um, "I tried my best today, and that's okay," or "I did everything that I could today, and that's okay." I wasn't
Yep.
bad because I didn't do the things I needed to do, or because I had more food than I anticipated. It's okay.
Yeah.
What matters is you did your best that you could with the given circumstances.
Yeah.
Was it good or bad? You know.
Exactly.
It's just like with food, eating one salad doesn't make you healthy, and eating one pizza doesn't make you unhealthy. So the good or bad thing doesn't exist either. That goes back to what you said at the beginning of the podcast with that all or nothing approach, then too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then what we can't eat, right? When we can't eat, those are things we should be focusing on throughout the year as well. So those are food rules, right? What we can and cannot eat, when we can and cannot eat. If somebody tells you you can only eat between 12 and 8, that's a food rule that is that's counterproductive. So we need to eliminate food rules. So for some people, for a lot of people, food rules are carbs make me fat. I can't have carbs, or I can't eat after 8 p.m. because that'll make me fat. So when you're eating or what you're eating, those are food rules.
Yeah. God, I hear, I used to do that too. I don't know about you, like, but
Mm-hmm.
like I'm just getting flashbacks of like old, like Thanksgivings and like, oh, I can't have that right now. Or I'm just not eating, just that like fear of like, oh my God, what am I going to be able to have at the Thanksgiving dinner? Like if my father-in-law was putting too much butter in the mashed potatoes, I'd be like, oh God, I can't eat those.
Oh
It's,
yeah.
um, yeah, it's crazy. It just like uh, all the diet talk around a Thanksgiving dinner table. Like it's insane,
Mm-hmm.
actually, when
Mm-hmm.
you think about it.
It really is. It really is. And I just thought of something that popped up too. There may be people that will have the argument that, well, I can't eat whatever I want on Thanksgiving Day because that's going to have a spiral
Trigger me to.
effect. That's
Mm-hmm.
trigger me to do more. And what I would say to that is, well, let's look at that relationship. Why is that happening, right? So what's probably happening then is they don't have a good relationship with food. They're stuck in that classic restrict and binge
Because
mindset,
I
right?
restrict, yeah,
So what they're going to do is
or
they'll binge on that Thanksgiving Day, and then leading up, or the week after, and then they'll go on this heavy restriction. When then comes Christmas, they're going to go fucking overboard for a week straight because
yeah,
they're in that classic binge and restrict mode, which that's proven time and time again that restriction leads to binging. So to fix that, everything we've been talking about, eliminating the food rules and just be a more fucking mindful eater. Like be in tune with our body, honor our body's hunger cues. When you're hungry, eat. When you're
and your
not hungry,
mind.
don't eat. And your mind, yeah, your mind for sure. That's big part of it. Big part of it.
Your
What's going on
mind's
up
like you're
here?
saying, like your emotional hunger cues. Are you emotionally hungry? Or are you physically hungry? Like
Mm-hmm.
how? Okay, how
Mm-hmm.
would you tell the difference, Matt? Like explain to someone, are you emotionally hungry or are you physically hungry right now?
Ooh, that's a good
How would
question.
you?
So for physical hunger, that's got that physical, like I feel nauseous or I have a lot of like for me if I don't eat and I get hungry, I get a lot of fucking anxiety. I get very
Yes.
I don't eat. So that's one thing right away. Like, why am I feeling so much anxiety right now? It almost feels like, in a way, for me, like this is how the anxiety hits me. It's I feel like I could like throw up essentially because there's so much anxiety hitting me in that moment. I'm like, I need to eat. This is my body's way of telling me that I need to eat.
Yeah.
Um, and I normally feel better after that. But how to tell a difference between hunger and emotional or physical and emotional hunger? That's a good question. Emotional hunger is you're turning to food as a coping mechanism, right? So Aunt Karen just made a disparaging comment on me. I really want to eat my feelings with these dozen cookies or things like that. So um, stressors and comfort foods and things like that, those are all forms of emotional eating. And maybe I haven't done a good job of kind of explaining that, but Physical hunger is a feeling.
Right.
It's within your body. It's not it's not up here. It's not like you're obsessed with this food, the idea of eating this food. You need to have it now because of the environment that you're in. So usually,
Yeah.
what I'll have people do is like to help them understand if it's physical hunger or physical or emotional hunger is write the feeling down. Right, like you can just jot it into your phone. So, like, what am I
Yeah.
craving? What do I want to eat? How much of it do I want to eat? What are my surroundings? Who am I with? What am I doing? What's my mental state? What's my emotional state? Um, then that will help you pinpoint it. So then also what I would do is um, rate your perceived hunger on a scale of 1 to 10. But then here's the key part: you eat, you allow yourself to have that food, and then you do that same check in after. So then you
Yeah.
jot the same feelings down after you eat, and that'll help you understand whether it was truly an
Yeah.
emotional event or a physical hunger. That's kind of one way that I
Yeah.
look at
Also, if you just had a full meal, like
it.
think to
Yeah,
yourself, okay, do I really need more? Would I eat an apple right now? If you're not going to want an apple, then you're probably not hungry or, whatever. It's just, you have to really like think. It takes awareness. So you almost have to
yeah,
be like seated, really like pause. Okay. Am I really hungry right now? I just had food. Let me sit here and, or what's going on here? What happened today? Um, what situation, is it from the situation that just happened with Aunt Karen that I just want to pile drive some fucking pumpkin pie, like all of it? Or,
yeah, for sure.
you
And
know?
and really there's I mean there's like how many hunger types is there? I think there's like 7, 8, or 9 different hunger types, but there's four main ones, right? So there's physical hunger, physical hunger cues. Like you just mentioned, you're satisfied after eating,
Mm-hmm.
but then we have our emotional and mental hunger, um, eating for emotional reasons and using food as that coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Then we have practical hunger. This is one that that kind of gets overlooked too. You're eating at a convenient time because you know that you'll be hungry later, but you won't necessarily have access to food later.
Mm,
So what that could look like is like I like hiking. So I'm not hungry in the morning when I go to start my hike, but I know I'm going to be hiking for 6 to 8 hours, so I need to have a good um, sturdy meal in me in
right.
order to allow me to feel good while I'm hiking. Um, or even having snacks while I'm on the trail to keep my energy levels up, things like that. Then we have this will be very popular right now for the holidays is the mouth feel, the mouth and taste hunger. Craving that
Mm-hmm.
specific food and flavor, which will then be satisfied hopefully by giving into that craving. So that's the four main types of hunger. Then there's also smell, I believe, is one. Like you just walk
Mm,
by you walk by like you smell pumpkin pie and now you want pumpkin pie. That is a
right.
type of hunger as well. um, Learning more about the types of hunger then I would recommend is key then for year-round practices. Do you have anything to add to that? I think ultimately like we just need to understand that right now isn't the time for us to be worried about our waistline.
Right.
Um, there's so many other things going on and so many other things for us to truly appreciate spending time with our family. We've been talking about the negatives, but our families are amazing. Hopefully you feel same way about your families and everything like that. We're there to spend time with them and to cherish those memories, build memories, and relive old memories. um,
Yeah.
we're not there to beat ourselves up. We're not there to feel
Yeah.
guilty.
I think that's the key is that we just want you guys to realize that it's okay to enjoy yourself on Thanksgiving. Like you're not going to ruin all your progress. Just no need to be sitting at the table fearing eating anything, and no feeling guilty. Like what does that do? That does nothing. Um,
Yeah.
Move
So
on.
those feelings of guilt then too that stems from everything we've pretty much talked about, right? That stems you get those feelings of guilt because you have those food rules, because
Right.
you're practicing those restriction, because you're saying good foods, bad foods. When you label food as bad and then you eat that food, you're a bad person and now you're guilty. So it's it's all about having that healthy relationship with food. It
It
truly is,
really
and it all
is. It
starts up
really
here.
is. once you have that, it's truly life changing.
Mm-hmm. It is. Then you have that freedom. You got that food freedom and that
Yeah.
permission. Giving yourself that fucking permission. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're very like what I'm trying to look for a word here. Very convincing permission. Like nothing else is going to stop you. Nobody else can take that right away from you, and to be happy and
Right.
to enjoy the foods that you love. Essentially.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I don't know about you, but I don't have any other Thanksgivings planned. But maybe I'll. I already lived it, so I'm speaking from personal experience right now. This year, it's very fresh in my memory. But I don't know. What are you
Yeah,
doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to my father-in-law's, my husband's dad's, and then going to
Mm-hmm.
my his mom's, which is a separate house after that, for
Okay.
pie. So I'll be
Ooh,
having two
nice.
Thanksgivings in one day.
I used to do that growing up. I loved it growing up as a kid because I got to eat all the food and I would always play video games and Nerf guns and stuff with my cousins. Um, as an adult, having two Thanksgivings in one day is kind of a pain in the ass, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it
Especially
is
after you eat all that
actually.
food at the first one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I don't really want pie after that.
right.
I mean, I might take it to go. Who knows? I'll eat it, but
Yeah,
I don't eat when I'm stuffed anymore. It's like one of those things that I used to do that I don't like the feeling of being overly stuffed.
yeah,
And the
for
fact that I
sure.
used to feel like that all the time, it's like, you know, interesting.
Yeah, eating yourself to discomfort and gorging yourself just because you could or because it's there.
Right.
And what you were doing is you weren't honoring your own body. You weren't
I was
honoring
emotionally
your
eating.
body's hunger cues. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
using it as a crutch.
Yeah.
Did you ever suffer from that after you had quit drinking, like around the holidays,
No.
or did
Mm-mm.
those go hand in hand? Like you
I
were
think it
doing
went
like both
hand
of
in
those?
hand. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for
that makes
sure.
sense. That makes sense.
Yep. Yeah.
Amazing. I don't know. I think
Amazing.
I think this is a good. I think this is a good one. I hope that it finds people in time for the holidays. I know we're getting it out a day before Thanksgiving, so
Yeah.
I think the message will be well warranted. Though I do know I put up that poll on my Instagram story last night, and like 150 people said yes, do this episode, and like 3 people said no, don't
Awesome.
do this episode. So
I
we're
had a few people.
here. We are.
It's like, why the fuck are you say no? Just scroll, okay?
Yeah,
Just
yeah. I'm thinking they're either smartasses or
right,
maybe they're from another country and they don't have Thanksgiving. But we didn't talk. We said we're eating around the holidays, right? This isn't just eating
right.
around Thanksgiving. It's eating around the holidays, whatever your holiday might be. So
Yeah.
yeah, um, I think an old tagline of mine that I used to use. We can close with is just, and you can use your own for eat the fucking fruit, but like for me, it's eat the damn Twinkie. Like honestly, just fucking eat it. It's not gonna kill you. It's not the end of the world. Let's start there. Eat it. Did you die? No. Okay, cool. We're good.
Eat the fucking mashed potatoes. Don't eat the fucking cauliflower mash, okay?
Yes.
Only
If
if you
somebody
really, really, really love it, which I
yes,
doubt, but maybe you
yeah,
do. So that's,
I like that. Stay away from it unless you actually enjoy it. Yes, I like that.
if
Yeah.
you really fucking love it, go for it. I don't know. Have
Boom.
fun.
Boom.
Boom. Boom.
All right. That's a good way to end the episode, I think. Boom.
Yes. Boom. All right, you guys.
All right, Beth and everybody, have an amazing
Cheers.
holiday, Thanksgiving. Be safe.
Yes.
And that is a wrap for this episode of Cut the Crap with Beth and Matt. Did we help you cut through the bullshit? We want to know. Send us a DM on Instagram and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear them. And if you did find this one helpful, why not share this episode with a friend? I know I personally love it when a friend shares their favorite podcast with me, along with a text saying, "Oh my God, you have got to check out this podcast. You'll love it." And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future